What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Full Court Talk podcast. My name is Spencer, and as you can see, CJ is back.
What's up, guys? Here we
And
go.
it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me back here.
Yeah, no problem. It's great having you on here. So today we got some smaller topics. Some really weird things have been said in the NBA over the past week. Even like Billy Donovan kind of leaving, and then we can even add like Mike D'Antoni leaving, which was kind of seen. I think like that's been kind of in the works for a while.
Yeah, I agree.
And we'll also go into like a little preview of the draft, like who we think is going to be the most exciting to watch, or like who has the highest potential. Celtics versus the Heat. Who do we think is going to win that series? And then we'll also give a little review of the Lakers versus Rockets, because that was a mess in itself, honestly.
Yep.
But so to start things off, I'm gonna ask you this: would Paul Pierce average 50 points a game in the season now?
Hey, man. Honestly, I don't think so. I do not think so at all. Part of it is because players have definitely evolved from when he was playing. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to disrespect Paul Pierce, even though he is a Celtic. When he was younger, coming in from Kansas, he was a killer. He definitely had all the tools, shooting, athleticism, all that. But it's just right now with how players are and how they defend and the type of caliber that they've learned to grow with their work ethics and whatnot, I don't think Paul Pierce would average 50 anywhere near that at all. The closest thing that he would get is probably 20 and 10, and that's being generous in my opinion. Like 20 and 10 in a good system team. But if he was trying to lead a team right now, he's nowhere near the caliber of superstars like Giannis, Bron, KD, So those guys, if anything, are the closest ones that can average 50, but definitely not Paul Pierce. Definitely not.
Yeah, I really, like, Paul Pierce was that dude back when he was with the Celtics. Like, he was that dude that you were scared to play. And I think, like, he's been saying some crazy things.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I looked it up. Like, there's, like, videos, like 8-minute videos of him saying stupid stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, he said he had a better career than Dwayne Wade.
Ridiculous.
Which is not true at all.
Not true at all.
Like, I think Paul Pierce was such a great player, but, like, the things he's been saying, like, really, like, make you think, like, dang, was he good?
Yeah, no, exactly.
He's just, like, he's ruining his own legacy by the weird things that he's saying.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between having a hot take and a stupid take, and he just has stupid takes.
Yeah.
Like,
man.
Calling the Celtics after one game, and then they go on to lose. Like, he did that twice last season with the Bucks and the Raptors. So, like, it's crazy how, like, he really is one of those guys that gets a job off of his name. And it can be – it's pretty sad.
Yeah. It's honestly one of those syndromes that all OGs have once they retire. They think that they can still do it. And, like, their time has passed. And so they gotta start believing that more than anything. And, like, the Celtics, that championship they had over us, 2008, is probably the most milked championship of all time. And Paul Pierce just making these comments only cements that topic. Yeah. And so, he needs to stop it, because Paul Pierce, I mean, if he wasn't really into these stupid antics, he would have some good times broadcasting, in my opinion. If he wasn't trying to be what he is doing right now, he can definitely have a career in broadcasting. But he needs to let that playoff career and overall NBA career go, because first of all, he did not have a better career than Dwayne Wade. The point per games that he's starting to say that he can't do is downright ridiculous. So, I think he just needs to let it go.
I mean, like, his highest average was 26.8, which is really good for any player.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But he was consistently around 20 points. Dwayne Wade was hitting 25, 26 consistently.
Yeah.
And it's bad. And like you said, like, they milked the hell out of that championship.
Yeah. No,
and when you think about it, like, when they talk about the Celtics, they talk like they were, like, champions in the
Yeah.
2000s, but they weren't.
They weren't.
They're a one-time champion.
Yep.
The Lakers ran that whole decade.
Exactly. Yeah. The way that they talk about it, it's as if they were that Larry Bird led Celtics when they were dominating.
Yes.
and they're not.
It wasn't at all.
So
I mean, they had to trade for Ray Allen and KG.
Yeah.
To even get in contention. So
yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
But we could go on and on about Paul Pierce being kind of weird. But let's get into Danuel House getting kicked out.
Yep.
Of the bubble for an unauthorized guest in his room.
Yeah.
From what I've read, they have no visual evidence.
Yep.
They have his door opening and closing and like his little magic band telling them that it was used to open the door. And that's all they have.
Yeah.
But even Mike, because I was thinking oh, maybe he's covering for someone, but then Mike D'Antoni was like, "No, you got to go home." And he was kicked out, held out of games, and that kind of was a huge blow to the Rockets.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't say, oh, it's rigged.
Yeah.
Because he did it to himself. Let's be honest.
He did.
They were sorely missing his threes and his defense, his rebounding. He was averaging 11 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's tough when you do something like that,
Yeah. I mean, let me just say that from what I heard, too, I don't know if these are just jokes, but he was covering for Harden. And, since they had rooms that were close together, I don't know how true that is. But from the looks of it all, it's definitely not the NBA trying to rig anything. He made that decision himself. And what's more disappointing is that he has a wife and kids, or a girlfriend, for that matter. So obviously, finding news like that is disappointing. But he made a poor decision, especially during the playoffs. And I understand, being in the bubble for as long as you have. I know that there's distractions that are presently making its course to the players, but being a professional, you have to keep in mind that hey, you're trying to compete for a championship at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what the record stands for the series. You need to be locked in, and we're human, so he made a mistake, moment of weakness, and he became a meme sensation throughout social media.
Yeah, pretty much.
But other than that, Danuel House, he's nowhere near what Lou Dort was to James Harden in terms of guarding Braun or AD. But the Rockets could have helped them, or the Rockets could have definitely used them going forward. I feel like the impact he would have had probably could have extended the series, honestly, because when the Rockets are locked in offensively, you see the damage they can do, but defensively, they have the number one defense in the playoffs. So he definitely contributes to that. So that takes a whole toll on their whole defense. But, unfortunately, he made a poor decision. He got sent home early. Like you said, Mike D'Antoni was the one that told him that you need to go home. The NBA, was investigating everything. And I think it just put everybody at risk because the person that was allegedly involved with him is a COVID tester. And these COVID testers, what most people don't understand is they get to go home. They get to leave the bubble.
Yeah.
So they're not there for as long as the players have. So they're there to do the testing, but they can leave. So that means that when they're away from the bubble and they're carrying on with their everyday lives, they can contract it somewhere else, no matter how safe they are. So he just put everybody else at risk because the bubble is doing so well in terms of those cases, right? So if it did happen, he could have put himself, teammates, other players, all that, could have put the whole bubble at risk, could have shut it down for that matter. So that's why the NBA took it so seriously. And so unfortunately, the Rockets lost, but he could have extended the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why his family didn't come and join him in the bubble.
Exactly.
Which I thought was weird because a lot of the players, you can see the sidelines when they pan to a lot of the players have their family there.
Mm-hmm.
So if he really did need to have someone with him, why didn't he just have his family?
Exactly.
So it's a really weird situation, and I think the NBA handled it perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if anyone was inside the bubble without being allowed, that's a serious case, like you said. These guys are COVID tested. Like, they're around
Yeah.
it all day. You don't know what they're doing outside. You don't know if they're going to a hospital outside of the bubble.
Yeah.
You
Definitely.
don't know anything. So it's just it's pretty sad that it had to go down like that, but I understand. There's nothing else I could do.
Yeah. That's true.
And let's go on to Michael Porter Jr.'s comments on wanting to be involved more on the offense. And he said, to beat that team, we've got to get more players involved. And we can assume he was talking about himself.
Yeah.
And, like, I like his attitude about it. And I think Michael Porter Jr. really is built to do great things. You know, he's got that 6'11" frame, long wingspan, great shooter, just great score.
Yep.
But I think something like that needs to be handled internally.
Yeah.
Can't just come to the media and be like, hey, I want to be involved. Like, that's not going to sit right with your coach. You know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he backed it up.
He did.
The very next game,
he did.
Like, his first points of the game was a clutch 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to give him props for that. But, you know, like, I understand, like, I like the attitude, but just handle it internally next time, you know?
Yeah. No, honestly, like, I was at a standstill when he made that comment because obviously basketball is a team sport, but let's keep it real, man. Like, Jokic and Murray are that team. You know, it's not Gary Harris anymore. It's specifically Jokic and Murray. And so, like, for him to make those type of comments, you would think that he's an all-star player. He's been in the league for a long time and not a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, it's his second year, but, like, what people forget is that, you know, his first year he was injured, so he didn't play.
Yeah.
So, to make those type of comments, that should be handled internally. It should be handled in-house because it creates a rift between you and your teammates if you feel like you need to go to the public with that. And he looked spoiled making those comments. You know, noticing when he was getting interviewed, he was eating, he was looking down, you know, saying those type of things. It just talks about his body language with the reporters. And he just looks like somebody that was entitled, which is not who he is and what he wants to show, I'm assuming. And, you know, you're right. He did back it up. And, you know, a part of me wanted him to get 30 or 40 that game. So he could just shut everybody up. But, you know, he didn't get that. But he had a clutch 3. He had a defensive stop. You know, he iced the game. And he gave him an opportunity to, you know, eventually get this Game 7 game going. But I think he's been in a lot of heat since earlier this year, too, with the comments he made about George Floyd and the police.
So, that, and then also he doesn't – I think he's the one that doesn't believe in vaccinations.
Yep. He also doesn't believe in vaccinations. So that's another issue.
This whole thing is like – this whole COVID thing is fake or like brought on by something else. Like, he has said a lot of like weird things.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think he's turned off a lot of people from liking him because of these comments. But I think especially the George Floyd comments, like –
yeah,
it's crazy that, like, he is one of the more – He did come from affluent places, and I think that definitely should be known about these comments for him. But still, like, it's crazy that he would say anything like that, you know?
Yeah. You know, honestly, what makes it worse is the George Floyd incident happened in his home state, you know, in Missouri. And another thing is that like I said, when he first made those comments, I understand the intention that he was trying to get. I understand that he wants to pray for everybody and all that stuff, but it was just, you have to read the room, man. It was just the wrong time and place to say it, especially when, you know, George Floyd was the victim there. It wasn't the cops, you know.
Yeah.
And so he just needs to be smarter with the way that he addresses things. I feel like his assistant or PR or media or whatever, they need to do a better job at handling that. And going back to him making those comments before Game 6, I feel like he made those comments because his dad was watching for the first time.
Yeah.
And I feel like he definitely wanted to showcase what he had for Pops. And, you know, he did. You know, he had a couple of highlights. You know, he had that dunk over Trez, but it's just, you know, you can't talk like that for being a rookie. You haven't accomplished anything that much yet. You know what I mean? And so, like,
definitely.
So he needs to be smarter. He needs to be more careful and just overall understand that a lot of the things that these NBA players say will be taken out of context. And so, like, he needs to take a page out of LeBron's book, you know, because although LeBron has had some stuff that he's said that's been controversial, he's often, saying the right things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the media really doesn't have anything much to say about him in terms of things that he progresses to what they want to hear. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say about MPJ, or otherwise known as MAGA PJ, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, briefly going back to, like, Danuel House, like,
Mm-hmm.
he should see, like, what happened to Danuel House, because, like, anything can happen in the NBA. Like, and
Oh, yeah.
overnight, you could be, like, taken out. Like, Danuel House
Yeah.
he could be looking at, like, getting cut
Yeah.
because of this.
Yeah.
And Michael Porter Jr. is obviously a much better talent, more
Mm-hmm.
potential, but,
Yeah.
like, this is a business. And if
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to make money off of you, they're
Yeah.
going to cut you. Like, that's just how it is. So he
Mm-hmm.
has to be extremely careful with some of these comments.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
But, going on from that, like, we should talk about, like, the Nuggets
Mm-hmm.
potentially coming back from 2-3-1 leads
Yeah.
in one series back-to-back. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane in
It is.
itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the Clippers look like they're completely lost.
Yeah.
The pick and pop, for some reason, just decimates their defense.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Definitely shouldn't.
I mean, when I was watching,
Yeah.
Zubac he'd just stick to Jamal.
Yep.
And so would Pat Bev.
Yeah.
And it just leaves Jokic wide open. No guards can contest that jumper.
Yeah.
Only a big.
Only a big.
But they still keep just focusing on Jamal.
Yeah. And you know what? Going off of that, he was averaging 50 at one point.
Yeah.
In the previous series. So I understand. I definitely see where the Clippers prioritize their defense on. However, they've seen what they can do with Murray in the first 4 games, first 3 for that matter.
Yeah.
And so they should have been shifting to Jokic. But see, with Jokic, you have that belief that he's slow.
Mm-hmm.
we can keep up with him. We can guard him down there. But see, he's showing his arsenal. He had 34 and 17 yesterday.
Yeah.
And he looked unstoppable in the fourth. One-legged jumpers, Dirk. No, I'm just kidding. But like the threes that he had, you like you said, you can't contest that. You need a big to contest that. It's a rainbow shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so with the Clippers defense, they're looking rattled. Pat Bev, he's fouling out. He's being overly aggressive. And they're blowing leads, bro. Like 16-point, 19-point leads. It's crazy. And like it shouldn't even be like that. You're a championship favorite team. You need to close these teams out. And if the Nuggets can somehow pull this off, obviously like they're no chumps. They'd still give the Lakers trouble, but it would definitely be an easier path to the finals for the Lakers, and it would remove the Western Conference Finals that people want to see.
Yeah.
But the Clippers, they shouldn't have any excuse as to why they're losing. They got wings for days that can defend all types of positions. PG, Kawhi, JaMychal Green, Trez, and these guys are getting beat by Jokic, which is insane because Murray's not even looking like himself. Previous game, he got injured too.
Yeah.
With PG, but he came back and he did his thing. But collectively, like the Denver Nuggets are peaking again at the right time. And I don't know if they like having their backs against the walls.
Must be.
Yeah, because it gives them a sense of urgency,
Yeah.
To play. And so the Clippers are in trouble because the Nuggets have nothing to lose. They've shown what they can do already. But the Clippers are the ones that have pressure to advance. So obviously the Nuggets want to advance to the Western Conference Finals. But the Clippers have more pressure, like Jokic said. They have more pressure for sure. So.
And I think going small here would be an adjustment that would work, you would think.
Yeah.
Because like if you get a smaller, more agile Montrezl Harrell on Jokic, maybe he could get out there and contest.
Yeah.
But they keep just putting Zubac out there.
Yeah.
And they're putting him in these situations where it's a lose-lose situation for him, right?
Yeah.
So they just need to make an adjustment. But I think at this point, like going to Game 7, with Denver having the momentum,
that's dangerous.
I think they're done at this point. Like you can't in the NBA, like anything can turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the Warriors lose 3-1. We've seen the Thunder lose 3-1.
Yep.
We've seen the Clippers do it in the past.
Yep.
And Doc Rivers was the coach.
Yep.
So this Denver team is good.
Yep.
And I think they've shown a lot of people like they're better than a lot of people think. So they're probably going to advance, I think.
You know what? I do think so too. And like a couple more thoughts on that. The Clippers should have had JaMychal Green at the 5.
Yes.
You know, so it should have been Trez, JaMychal Green, Kawhi, PG, and Pat Bev for their best lineup, because JaMychal Green is agile. He can keep up with Jokic, and he'll give him trouble because he's lengthy too. And going off on that, if the Clippers were to lose, they need to look at moving on from Doc Rivers, because he has not performed from what their expectation has. You know, he's been there for quite some time. You know, he has significant positions within the organization, but he has just been disappointing. And, you know, the Warriors aren't even in the playoffs, and that was their biggest David and Goliath moment. You know what I mean? And so if they can't even advance with the type of caliber players that they got, there's some trouble with Doc. And I think, personally, he gets let go. I think they move on from him. You know, because having Kawhi and PG, Kawhi coming off a finals championship, finals MVP, and being the type of player that he is, and you can't finish the business, like, I feel like they're going to move on from him. And,
or you could even see, like, maybe they make him just the president and hire a coach, because, like, he's shown he can create an incredible team.
Yeah.
This is a good Clippers team.
It is.
But I think coaching-wise, it's just not working for some reason within the organization or what. It's just not working. So I think they do just need to make some kind of adjustment, because this is a good Clippers team.
Yeah. And, you know, like with Doc, like his track record shows, man. Like when he was coaching T-Mac and the Magic, he blew a 3-1 lead, you know. Yeah. And now Clippers, you know, he's maybe twice. And so it's not looking good for Doc. But you're right. Maybe he does move into a presidential role within the organization and they move on finding a coach. But only time will tell. But you're right. I do think the Nuggets have enough momentum to finish the business and do 2 completed 3-1 comebacks. And so that's impressive in its own right. It is.
So now we'll go on to Billy Donovan, which is insane to me. But I think in the beginning of the season, everyone counted the Thunder out.
Yep.
I think even the management of the Thunder were like, okay, take a seat. We're going to just chill this season, get a nice pick.
Yeah.
And Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous, ball out.
Yeah.
They find someone like Lou Dort, great defender, came out in Game 7 against the Rockets, put up 18.
Yep.
Steven Adams did his thing. Like, this is a good Thunder team.
Yeah.
And having that season with Shai Gilgeous and Chris Paul, like, that's going to be key moving forward, I think. Because I think they're going to move on from Chris Paul. Like, you already see the rumors swirling.
Yeah.
But Shai Gilgeous is a great player.
Yeah.
And that trade for Paul George, beautifully done.
Yep.
So many picks were gotten. And then also getting a player of Shai Gilgeous' like caliber was crazy.
Yeah.
So,
you know, Sam Presti is underrated as a president and of basketball operations and an owner in its own right. But the moves that he made, you know, at first it was questionable, right? Because, you know, he's trading away Russ, PG. And so I think that he's definitely made up for draft picks. That's going to be, you know, moving forward, whatever they decide to do, if they decide to blow up this franchise now, they're set. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're going to be equipped with young talent moving forward. And so, you're right. CP3 was a 1-year project. And I think they do move on from him. But if they can somehow keep him, it obviously increases their playoff hopes again. But yeah, a lot of people counted them out. I even counted them out. You know, I'm nobody, but, you know, I'm just thinking about it. Like, I counted them out. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can never doubt CP in the regular season, I guess, because he's shown his leadership. And from the beginning, what people tend to forget is that he didn't even want to play for the Thunder. No. You know, he didn't want to be there. And so, you know, he became professional about it, got sat down, probably talked about, hey, you know, we just want you here. We'll pay you all this and all that. You know, playoffs, cool. But regular season, like, yeah, that's where you'll do your damage. But, you know, he took him above and beyond that. But, yeah, they're well equipped. I believe that they need to keep Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah.
He's definitely an essential key piece to their playoff hopes and development moving forward. And that 1 year with CP definitely helped Shea. I love Shea, love his game. You know, he's like, as weird as it sounds, a faster Kyle Anderson with more skill.
That's a weird way to put it, but I could see it too.
You know what I mean? Because they're both slow, but Shea will have his moments, and he's only going to get better. And one thing that I love about him is that he wants to work. He's willing to work, and that 1 year under CP's guidance will definitely help him in the long run. But they definitely need to keep Dennis Schroeder because he's somebody else that can mentor Shea and his growth. I definitely think that Dort should be there. Gallo, yeah. Steven Adams, none of these guys should be traded unless it's going to be for their future or they can be helped now. You know what I mean? Because they have a system that works. And Billy Donovan, honestly, that was sudden for me. Like, I didn't think he was going to get let go like that. And even though the decisions are mutual, I still feel like they should have convinced him to stay because he knows the team and he knows how to run it.
Yeah.
And, you know, circling back, like, I want to see him on an NBA roster again. But if he goes back to college, we all know what he did with Florida. You know, any college program was lucky to have him. But I would definitely like to see him in an NBA setting again because, like, he's one of the few college coaches that made the jump and has had success. Yeah, like Pitino, Calipari, like, they didn't have the same success. But and Fred Hoiberg, the one that coached for the Bulls, same thing. But yeah, either way, he's gonna find a home. He's gonna find a home, but it's just a matter of NBA or college, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's definitely a good coach. Definitely a good coach.
Yeah, I think the Sixers are interested in him, and I think they're kind of waiting that out because I heard Ty Lue, I've heard Billy Donovan. Those are the only two names I think have been linked. Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna find a home. He's had a great track record in the NBA, and I think, you know, you could say before, like, oh, he was carried by Russ, but now you can't say that. Like, he coached that team very well. They were very well coached, and I think CP3 had someone to help with that too.
Yeah.
But I think furthering the development of Shai Gilgeous is huge for that whole organization.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, something that the Clippers are missing right now is a playmaker.
Yep.
And a shot creator. Shai Gilgeous.
Yep.
So kind of shows that they made a mistake on that. I think even at the time, like, when people thought, oh, that's not a good trade, you can't give up 6 first-round picks.
No way, dude.
Or however many it was, like, it's never going to be worth it.
Yeah.
As good as Paul George is, like, Paul George, I think, is pretty overrated at this point.
Yeah, I agree, man. Definitely.
He's been, like, because he was so good in Indiana.
Yep.
And then for some reason he got into this little battle with Joe Ingles, and from there it kind of, like, went downhill.
Yep, it did.
And just this Clippers season has kind of showed, like, he's a great, I would say, I don't even know if he's a second option anymore.
Nah.
I would say third option. Like, he would be great because he's a good 3-and-D kind of guy. But at this point, it's tough to have him there, you know?
Yeah. I just don't see him as superstar caliber anymore, man.
No,
honestly.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad because I loved him in Indiana. You know, how he came back from that broken leg was amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And carrying that Pacers team who was severely, like, they had no, playoff experience, and he still carried them to the conference finals against LeBron and carried that team to 7 games. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sad to see his fall, you know, because he was such a good player.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He'll have his stints, but, you know, playoff P is a myth at this point because he hasn't shown up. Like, he's had 1 or 2 games in the playoffs. And so, moving forward, like, you're right. He's definitely not – he's the people see him as a second option because he's a big name star.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's just Kawhi and whoever wants to step up after him, and then PG. In my
And literally
opinion,
no one's stepping up on that team.
nope.
Lou Will is shooting, I think I saw like under 10% from three.
Yeah, he's shooting very poorly, which is uncharacteristic coming from Lou
Yeah.
Will.
And then
So
Montrez has just been a non-factor
yeah,
this entire bubble,
yep,
which is crazy because he's such a good player, you know?
yeah, mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because he feeds off of Lou Will's pick and rolls. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but both of them
Yeah,
have been struggling.
yeah.
That Clippers team is in deep, deep
Yep.
trouble.
No, they are. And like, let me just say that in light of recent comments that Paul George has made about his mental state in the bubble, so we obviously know that. We obviously acknowledge that. We're not making fun of it or disregarding it.
Mm.
But at the same time, like a lot of other players are dealing with the same thing, and not everybody's the same. But in order for you to talk highly of yourself and, you know, do the talking as much as they did during the regular season in the bubble against Dame and against other teams, you need to be able to back that up. And, the mental health thing is very real, but it's just, other players are dealing with their own issues in the bubble too, but are performing at a standard that is, subpar. And so, we'll definitely see moving forward. The Clippers are in deep trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. If they do win, they still need some stuff to work on too, because if they don't get it together, if they do advance, then that series might end up being quick.
Yeah, you're going up against a high-powered offense like the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
It's trouble. Their defense has not been as advertised. And,
Exactly.
like I understand Kawhi needs to take a step back on defense, right? Like
Yeah.
offensively, he needs to carry them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George needs to step it up on both sides. That
Yep.
whole bench is just a mess.
Yep.
Patrick Beverley has turned into what everyone thinks he is, just
Yep.
the guy that talks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And which is bad because, like, I love Patrick Beverley.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a great player, but, like, now he's kind of showing, like, he's just a gimmick.
Yep.
Because he's that guy you don't want to face, right? But
Never.
at this point, he's just kind of there, just barking.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's tiring because he's a good defender, decent shooter. Like, that's all he needs to do, but he's not even doing that, right? So
nope.
That team's point guard situation is tough.
Yep.
They need to find a point guard.
Yeah, and you can see that Doc has lost trust in Reggie Jackson. He doesn't even see the court anymore.
That was a weird signing in itself because Reggie Jackson hasn't shown anything since he was with the Thunder.
Yep. True. Very true.
Yeah. I mean, those Pistons teams were not that bad.
Yeah.
But Reggie Jackson just couldn't handle, like, a key to the offense like that,
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah. So let's get into the most intriguing draft pick, the second topic. So who do you think is going to be the most intriguing?
Well, if we're talking about most intriguing, I mean, not considering the hype or anything like that, I'm going to go with two players just because I've seen them and actually paid attention to them. And actually three players. Two players that I'll start with first is RJ Hampton and LaMelo Ball. And, we're on the intriguing topic, and intriguing defines LaMelo for sure because we don't know how he's going to pan out in the NBA. He's had a very controversial life growing up in terms of basketball. Obviously, nothing personal. It's just all basketball. That's how controversies are with him. Going off to Chino Hills and then signing to UCLA when he was so young and not even going there. Going to Lithuania and all that stuff. It's intriguing because Melo is 6'7". I feel like he's not even done growing. Yeah, no. And he's a point guard, and he's definitely matured from those early days of him pulling up from half court.
Yeah.
And so obviously right now he's preparing for the draft, lifting, working out, all that stuff. So he might not be top 2, but he'll definitely be in the top 5 mix. And so we don't know what we're gonna see with LaMelo Ball and whatever team that he goes to. We could see somebody that's a bonehead making poor rookie decisions, or we can see somebody that's poised and better than Lonzo was for the Lakers. We'll just have to wait. But as far as intriguing prospects, he's definitely one of them. And another one is R.J. Hampton. Coming off high school, he didn't even go to college. He went straight to the Australian League. Somewhat similar path that Melo took. But, the Australian League is no joke, man. Like, you're playing with grown physical men. Australians, like, that's how they do their basketball. We see that in FIBA. We see that in their own league. And so he held his own, averaging double figures, points and assists. Against grown men being an 18-year-old. And so R.J. Hampton, all he's lacking is this consistent jump shot. He's already explosive. He's athletic. And so those two for sure, they've battled in Australia, and they're going to battle in the NBA. But R.J. Hampton definitely has the tools to be the best point guard or overall guard in the league. And this is considering Cole Anthony, Melo, Anthony Edwards, those type of guys. And my third pick just has to be just based off biases, man. I love Duke. Trey Jones, ACC Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year for the ACC as well. He's a chip on his shoulder because he's not even in the lottery. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's undersized, but he's a winner. He's definitely a winner. And it's just ridiculous seeing Cassius Winston over him in the boards and draft boards. Especially since, Trey Jones is younger. His defensive IQ is definitely up there. He can pick up full court and lock down. And so, like, I just see that he has a chip on his shoulder. And I definitely think he can have a story similar to Frank Mason III, who's made a roster, or even Devontae Graham, who was in most improved contention. And so, he's athletic already. He just needs a shot. But he'll definitely carve out a role in the NBA. But I just don't see him going after Cassius Winston. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
But, those are the three that I find intriguing. But if I had to pick one, I would go with LaMelo just because it's a question mark. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And
I think to piggyback, like, for Trey Jones, like, I think you could even see him going like a Jalen Brunson role.
Yep.
Where he, like, works his way up through the organization, right? Like,
yeah.
And if a team like the Mavericks gets a guy like Trey Jones, like, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
Because they need a guy like that, right?
Yeah.
So you can see something like that. Like, that would be a great pick.
Yeah.
I actually had LaMelo Ball, and I have another player.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, LaMelo is very interesting. Great passer.
Yep.
Like, one of the best we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Much like his brother. Just can't play defense.
Nope.
At all.
Nope.
And his shot selection is pretty bad.
Yep.
He shot 37 from the field and 25 from three.
Yeah.
As long as he can somewhat hit 40 to 45% from the field, like, that's a lot better.
Yeah.
But he needs to be able to raise that to become the best player in the draft, like what a lot of people think. And he needs to be in a great system.
Yeah.
If he goes to somewhere like the Knicks, I don't think he's ever going to develop the way he should.
Yeah.
And with a coach like Tom Thibodeau, who doesn't like rookies, it's going to be tough for him to even get any playing time.
Yeah.
Which, in turn, would piss off LeVar.
Yep.
And, like, LeVar's been, like, a huge meme ever since his boys from Chino Hills. But, like, he just wants to see him succeed. You can respect that. But with LaMelo, like, this is his prize. Like, that's his last kid and the one that he's spent the most time with, arguably.
Yep.
And I think he needs a system. So I think if the Warriors got him, it'd be a great fit.
Yeah.
Because he could come off the bench, learn from Steph, learn from Clay, work with some great shooting coaches that could help develop his shot.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see the Warriors picking him because it's, first of all, his dad said he didn't want him there.
Yep.
Second of all, I think LaMelo said he doesn't care where he goes.
Yep.
And I think he would enjoy the Warriors, It's a great city. SF is a great city.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind it. Like, this draft is not that good, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And, we could get maybe play like a Sean Livingston type role.
Yeah.
great. But if
Yeah.
he's willing to come off the bench, go for it.
Yeah.
And then the next guy I chose is Danny of Dia. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
But he, as much as I want to say like James Wiseman, like
Yeah.
Denny is probably the most likely player to go top 5.
Yeah.
Wiseman is too hard to really like go off of with this minimal amount of like tape.
Yeah.
But Denny's a great playmaker, pretty good scorer. But I think he's one of those guys that needs development to really help in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because he's another European player, right?
Yeah.
And European players have been so popular over the past like 20 years because of Dirk, Luka.
Yeah.
There's a lot more. I just can't think of off the top of my head. But
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a great player in the long run. Great role player. He could even be a starter. But
Yeah.
he needs to fall into the right team. That's a guy that needs a place where he can develop with the rest of the team. So the
True.
Cavs or Bulls would be amazing for him.
Yeah.
I think if the Cavs let him slip, I think that'd be a big mistake.
I agree. I agree.
They need a small forward badly.
They do.
But yeah,
Yeah.
this is gonna be an interesting draft. I haven't been excited for a draft in years.
Yeah.
So this is such a different experience for me. Just looking at who's gonna be on like the lottery, like the mock drafts. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know who I want. Like honestly, I think they're gonna trade it either way. So
No, that's what I was about to say, man. Regardless of who the Warriors pick up, that person needs to not look for houses in the Bay Area.
honestly, I wouldn't even blame them if they didn't want to. It's so expensive here, so
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming they trade it. There's no way they keep it.
Yeah. Definitely not.
Yeah,
If they don't trade it for if they don't trade down, they'll definitely trade for a veteran, or
yeah,
it could be like a mega blockbuster trade. You never know. It's the Warriors, and they have a good front office, so we'll see what they do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for the Celtics against the Heat, do you think the
Hmm.
Celtics have enough to beat the Heat?
No, I don't. I do not, man. And I say that with confidence because I mean, the Raptors are a championship caliber team, but the Celtics, after going up like what 2-0, they messed up, and they showed their inexperience. And so Miami, you could argue that they're inexperienced as well, but they definitely have more pieces to combat the Celtics. See, where it gets tricky is the Raptors have more pieces to combat the Celtics, or had more pieces, but you saw what the Celtics did, and a lot of their offense comes from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum with a sprinkle of Kemba Walker. And so knowing that the Raptors weren't a good defensive team as compared to the Heat,
Yeah,
because the Heat will find your weakness and expose it. And so that's why I feel like they don't have an advantage over them. And so Jimmy Butler will take pride in guarding whoever, whether it's Tatum, Brown, or even Kemba. And so where I contradict myself is I still see this series going to 7.
yeah,
Definitely not a sweep, but I see them going to 7. But I just think that both teams are inexperienced, but Miami has more tools and they're better equipped over the Raptors. And the Celtics are coming off, even though they're going to have a little bit of rest, they're coming off a Game 7 series. That's going to play into a huge role. And Miami has, even though they've rested for a little bit, they had a big momentum going into this game because they just knocked out a championship favored team with a superstar player. And, the Celtics have a rising Tatum and Brown, but they were nowhere near the track record that the Bucks had. So I just feel like the Celtics eventually are gonna fall. Their magical run, as I should say, or it's gonna end in the hands of Miami. But yeah, Miami definitely. I'll give Miami the advantage over them for sure.
Yeah, I think for the Celtics, like a three-headed monster of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker, great on paper.
Yep.
And I think they've been great all season, but I think Kemba has been the one that's been lacking.
Yeah.
And I love Kemba. He's a great player. But I
Yeah.
think like going off of 8 seasons with the Hornets / Bobcats, like that's tough. He's won
Yeah.
the most games here in the playoffs that he's won in 8 years with them,
Yeah.
which is insane. But like he's
Yeah.
been dealing with a new system
Mhm.
and a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And I think it's been tough for him because he's been up and down all season.
Yeah.
And he's definitely like, if Kemba can get it going,
Mhm.
Celtics could win this series.
Yep. That's
But
true.
it's hard to see him getting it going this late in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're gonna do their thing, but
Yeah.
their bench is not nearly as deep as the Heat.
No.
You got Marcus Smart, Enes Kanter, and Robert Williams. Those are like the main pieces that I could see, like, but no one else on there was gonna be able to contribute night in, night out.
Yeah.
And Gordon Hayward is, I think he's still out with his kids, so like I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad that, I mean, like, not bad. I think the Celtics are a great team, but
Yeah.
not having Hayward is gonna be a huge blow for them in this series.
Yeah. I think so. I do remember Hayward is actually in the bubble. He's working out with them, but
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
he's there. But just going off of what you said, incorporating him back into playoff atmosphere play is not going to be easy.
Tough.
Yeah, I don't know how the Lakers did it with Rondo, which is crazy. But yeah, with Hayward, like definitely it won't be easy. He's been like you could see him working out right before those games against the Raptors. But he's not he the series with the Heat is definitely not one to come back to. In
No.
my opinion, you don't want to come back to that. But yeah, Kemba, like he played a poor game 6 and a poor game 7. Even though the Celtics won, he was not making his shots, the ones that he'd normally make during the regular season. He had a great game 2, but yeah, you're right. He can't peak at this late in the playoffs. It's like it's not impossible to do, but it's just very difficult. And I definitely think right now, I'm not saying he's a better player, but right now, Goran Dragic is playing better than him.
Yeah, he's up playing.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and that's going to play in a role. The Heat, they have Tyler Hero coming off the bench, which I think might change with Duncan Robinson. Instead, Duncan Robinson is going to come off the bench, but even still, like they're deep, and Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, those guys can defend Tatum and Brown. Coming off the bench, like you said, Celtics have Robert Williams, and I think they might actually utilize Kanter this series because he can actually bang down low with Olenek, and the Heat haven't used Myers Leonard, but you never know. And then Bam, like who's gonna match up with Bam?
There's no one. Maybe Daniel Tice.
Yeah, I actually like Tice as a player, but he's gonna be tasked with guarding like bigs that can stretch the floor. Sometimes he'll be switched on a small forward. They might get exposed, but I just think that Miami has the advantage. And ultimately, if Kemba steps up, they can win the series, like you said. They could definitely win the series, but it's gonna play, or it's gonna come down to Tatum and Brown if they're gonna get carried. Because Miami is going to obviously prioritize them on the defensive end.
Yeah.
You see what they did with Giannis when he was playing,
Yeah.
and Chris Middleton. So it's interesting to see, but ultimately, right now, on paper, Miami's the better team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think like when you have a supporting cast like the Heat do, and like a championship guy like Andre Iguodala, you have a lot to work with.
Yep.
Like that's probably one of the only teams that I can say that would be able to run like a 10-man rotation.
Yeah.
And be totally fine.
Yeah.
Because usually in the playoffs you go 7, 8 guys.
Yep.
the Heat could easily go 10, 11 guys,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
Because they have that deep of a team.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
Tyler Hero, I think, like, to go off of him, like, he's shown he's not a regular rookie.
Nope.
He's
not
not
at all.
afraid of the big shots. He's perfect for that team.
Yep.
And even a guy like Jay Crowder shooting
Yeah.
40% in the bubble
Yeah.
from 3 is insane.
Yeah.
And they have so many guys who can just switch off. And I think the Heat match up perfectly with the Celtics in terms of their, there's going to be no 7-footers that are going to be dominating the series.
Yeah.
So it's a whole nother look from the Western Conference, right?
Yeah.
You have, like, the best center in the NBA, arguably, with Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
JaVale, great player, good player. Dwight,
Mm-hmm.
experience all around. Anthony Davis.
Yep.
And then you go to the Eastern Conference, you have Bam Adebayo, Kelly Olynyk, Daniel Tice, Myers Leonard, and Enes Kanter.
Enes Kanter, yeah.
There's, like, just Bam out of that.
Yeah.
Just stands out. No one else, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's crazy that we're going to see, like, a more modern type of play in the Eastern Conference and then old school style play in the Western Conference. It's crazy. It's kind of weird when you think about that. But, just say, like, Heat should win this series. Like, the Warriors went off of strength in numbers for years.
Yeah.
The Heat embodied that.
Yep.
There's no way this is going to be like a walk in the park for each team.
Nope.
But 6-7 games minimum.
Yep.
With the Heat, I think they're going to win. It's too hard to pick the Celtics, I think, at this point. I think, like you said, like, they've shown a lack of experience. And Kemba needs to be perfect throughout the series. And that's just a lot to ask for someone that hasn't been there long enough to just turn it on like that.
Mm-hmm.
And with Gordon Hayward, I think, like you said, this is not the series to return.
It's definitely not.
I would not want to face Jimmy Butler off rip,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Heat sweeping basically almost sweeping the Bucks.
They were close, man. Yep.
Yeah. They were one shot away.
Yeah, they were one shot away. Yeah.
And I mean, with as many defensive pieces, offensive pieces that this team has, it's looking like the Heat are gonna be in that finals.
Yep. First time since Bron.
Yeah, which Bryce predicted somehow.
Yeah.
I still don't get that. He keeps rubbing in our faces like, oh, I predicted it. And he did. We have video evidence.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to me. But yeah, it's looking like the Heat are gonna be able to win this. Like, they match up really well.
I think so too.
And yeah, so let's hop over to the Western Conference. But this we're just gonna talk about the Lakers versus Rockets.
Yep.
So I'll take the Rockets because, as a big Warriors fan, I hate the Rockets. And I don't understand how they lost in 5 games to the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
You have a dominant first game.
Yep.
And then you go and just lose the next 4. Harden is, I think, at one point he went 2 for 20.
Yep.
With 20 free throws, ended with 21 points. You can't have that as the best shooting guard in the NBA.
Yep.
And I think, I would, everything being said, I'm a huge Warriors fan. Mm-hmm. This is a difficult series for me to pick anyone who won. At some point, I was just like, who cares who wins?
Yeah. But
I hate the Rockets more because they've just been so annoying to the Warriors, but also very disrespectful at some points with Harden. You could see him in the huddle before one of the games against the Warriors. He's like, they're not that good.
Yep.
And it's like, he can't talk at that point because he has no experience other than being carried to one finals.
Yep.
And I think he's a great offensive player. Defensively, he's getting better.
Yep.
But he's still not at the level that he should be. Takes a lot of plays off on offense.
Yeah.
On Christmas Day, you can see him walking up just because he's getting doubled.
Yeah.
And defensively, he's someone you target.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on about why I don't like James Harden, but he just, in the end, he just doesn't have that it factor.
Nope.
And I think Kobe said it in an interview with Rachel Nichols and Tracy McGrady. Like, he said it
Yeah.
perfectly. Like, you can't win with that style of play.
Nope. Definitely
You
can't.
can't, like, just ISO the whole time. Like, Kobe never did that. He always had his sidekick with Pau Gasol, Shaq. Like, he had a team around him to help him win.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, James Harden just, he should have dominated that series. There's no guard on that team that could have handled him, right?
Definitely not.
There's no one on that team, but he took the back seat.
Yeah.
And he's shown that time and time again against the Warriors, against any other team, he's taken the back seat.
Yeah.
And if you want to be the premier player on a premier team, like, you can't do that.
Definitely not.
And then, like, going into Russ, like, he showed flashes of retro MVP Russ towards the end of the season that got cut because of COVID.
Yeah.
But during the just playoffs this season, he's been struggling.
Yeah.
And I think he takes a lot of things just too personally.
Yeah.
And I think he
Unfortunately.
picks these little battles between the opposing guard.
Yeah.
And he gets into his own head. Like, when you speak of rent-free, the other guard just lives there.
Yeah.
Because he can just get into his head. There's no reason Rubio should have been going up against Westbrook, and that should not have been a battle. But Westbrook made it a battle. And he lost his own battle, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this series, Westbrook goes up against Rondo and Rondo's brother.
Yeah.
Like, you're down 29 and you're talking.
Yeah.
The game's over at this point.
It is.
Why are you talking?
Yep.
And, you know, like, just, he needs to stop. I think this Rockets team is done. This was their last straw.
Yeah.
I would say it's time to blow it up, but there's no way they can.
There's no way. Nope.
I think they're going to trade PJ and Robert Covington.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you can do at that point with them.
Yeah.
Westbrook, untradeable.
Nope.
With that huge contract this late in his career, he's been declining.
Yeah.
Harden, unless he requests a trade, they're going to hold on to him, but I think their window is just, it's closed. It's shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, like, it's pretty bad that, like, I really thought that Harden was just going to take over. But he never did.
Yep.
That guy that scores 36 in the regular season just can't do it during the postseason for whatever reason.
Yeah. You know, with the Rockets, I'm sorry to say, man, like, this performance just cements the fact that you can't compare Harden to Kobe, to Wade, you know, great shooting guards. Even Clay, you know, you can't compare him to these types of players.
Yeah.
Because Harden, we've seen it dominate the regular season, go crazy, absolutely, beat teams by himself, you know, 50-point game, 40-point games. But when it comes to the postseason, he's a non-factor. He doesn't show up. You know, don't get me wrong, he has his games. But I recently saw this thread on Twitter. This guy was a Rockets fan, but he exposed James Harden for not showing up to the playoff series, dating back to when he first got traded to Houston. It's just disappointing to see because, like, Harden is annoying. His antics are definitely questionable, but he's a great player, but he just can't put it together when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah.
And he does take back seats in crucial possessions, which is crazy because you're the face of the team. You need to get out there and do your thing. But that just goes to show, like what you said about Kobe, Rachel Nichols, and McGrady. You can't win like that. You know, you can't win with one player. It's never been done. Like, you even go back to MJ. You know, when he was playing in the '80s, he didn't accomplish anything in the playoffs. Like, he would set records and all that stuff, but in terms of reaching and going far, he didn't. You know, you can't win like that. And so with Harden, like, you're right, the window of opportunity for these Rockets is shut. They can't get rid of Westbrook, and they do need to get rid of other players, and it's ultimately going to fall down on Tucker and Covington. I believe, you know, they need to get rid of Austin Rivers. Like, he's annoying. He almost got his last game with LeBron. But yeah, they need to get rid of those types of players, and I
Yeah,
think Harden definitely needs a center. He needs a center. You see, in my opinion, he plays better when he had a Clint Capella.
he thrives off that pick and roll.
Yeah,
That alley oop is always there,
it is.
and to bail him out. But
Yeah, yeah,
with no center, no athletic, um,
yeah,
tall player, like he
yeah,
doesn't pass as much. You notice that,
yeah, exactly.
and
And
the ISO ball, like
yeah,
at this point, like you just got to realize that's not how it needs to be. Like you got to be able to play off ball, especially with
yeah,
someone like Russ. You know.
yeah. Now, if Harden wants to win, he needs to consider the fact that he is a superstar, but he needs more pieces. And that's what he said. We're one piece away. But that piece is a center because, like you said, he thrives off that pick and roll. I think the Rockets made a huge mistake trading away Capella
For nothing.
for nothing. And, they were trying to go all in with that small ball lineup that D'Antoni used to run with Phoenix. But no, like, the Rockets don't have a Steve Nash. They don't have a Stoudemire and a Sean Marion and all that. So, and even in today's style of play, when it comes to hoop, they can't thrive off that small ball.
Yeah.
And you can see it. They got exposed. And I still, to this day, I don't know how they had the number one defensive rating in the playoffs, in the
No
bubble.
idea.
But, James Harden has definitely improved in terms of defense. In terms of Westbrook, you can even argue that they need another point guard out there so Westbrook can play off of him because Russ is definitely not a point guard. He showed that he can average a triple-double with assists, rebounds, and points. But, I mean, as you can clearly see, he was just stat padding. You know what I mean? And so I definitely think another point guard would help. Maybe sliding James over to the three would help. He played a couple threes, or he played some 3 minutes. And when he was in OKC, when they had Eric Maynard, Westbrook, and him out there, you know what I mean? And so, you could argue that the Rockets need a point guard in the center. And, even maybe playing Tyson Chandler would have made some sort of impact because he can catch an oop too. He's at a late stage in his career. He's probably going to retire, but he probably could have helped even a little bit. But, the Rockets want to go all in with 3-point shooting. And, dude, you're not the Warriors, man. You don't have
And
shooters
even
like that.
the Warriors had, they weren't the best shooting team, but you have Steph and Clay.
Yeah.
Best shooters of all time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
even then, like the Warriors didn't rely heavily on the shooting like them.
Yeah.
Taking 53s a game is ridiculous.
It is.
But doing it when you're missing and when you're off and you're still taking 53s
is even more ridiculous.
Yes.
and
it's crazy. Like this Rockets team just never learned.
Yeah, they don't. And in terms of like Westbrook and then going to D'Antoni, but Westbrook, I love Westbrook, but like you said, he takes too many things personal. He needs to let that go because being a player of Westbrook's caliber, you're obviously going to get heat all the time. And players are always going to come at you because they know you get mad and you get pissed off. So that's how they're going to take that into their consideration. They're going to use that to their advantage. I mean, with Rondo's brother, like he knows what can get into Russ's head, and he used that. And he got ejected. But Rondo's brother got ejected, which is pretty funny because the first person to get rejected from the bubble from the crowd. But ultimately, he already won the battle. He got into Russ's head. And he, like you said, he needs to stop taking these types of things personal and just play.
Yeah.
And, I recently saw a report, or not even a report, a tweet of like going against Russ's skill. If you really look at it, Russ really just uses his athleticism. He always tries to drive to the lane, get the foul, try to finesse, all that stuff. But it's not working, He either needs to work on his bag or just work more in becoming a point guard, maybe. I don't know, but he definitely is missing some pieces as well. But D'Antoni, that was surprising to me. But that just goes to show that he's even done with the Rockets.
He didn't I think over the last couple of years, he was just trying to find a way out. He didn't even want to be with them anymore.
Yeah.
And I think this is just the last shot. He was like, "Nah, I'm done." Coaching James Harden and Russell Westbrook is difficult in its own.
Yeah.
Because I think I saw a report that Russ was just ignoring play calls and going on his
Yeah.
own,
Yeah.
which is troubling
Yeah.
because you're in a pivotal game 5
Yeah.
and you're just trying to do it all on your own. You can't do that.
You can't. You definitely can't. And that's what sucks about Russ is he's pretty boneheaded sometimes, makes
Yeah.
dumb decisions, which is why some people will leave him out their current top 5 of point guards. But we see what he can do. We've seen it with Billy Donovan and the Thunder before Billy Donovan era too. It's just he needs to find a coach that could understand him and he can bond with. Maybe that will go forward. If Scott Brooks gets fired by the Wizards, the Rockets need to look into signing him.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if they're going to keep Westbrook and Harden. Because, the moment that Harden requests for a trade, Westbrook will be fine with it. You know what I mean? Because that will be his team. Yeah, he can care less. That'll be his team. It'll be OKC all over again. Yeah. But if the Rockets can somehow get Scott Brooks, then maybe they can get over the hump. You know what I mean? And so it's funny with D'Antoni how he said, I'm going to be a free agent next season like he's a player. You know what I mean?
He knows people want him.
Yeah, he knows it. But I definitely would like to see where he ends up because, he's known for playing that small ball lineup, that running gun type of offense. Yeah. So maybe he might not be a head coach. Maybe he might be an assistant coach. But I know he's pushing for the head coach position. So we'll definitely see where he ends up.
I think an interesting place would be like the Sixers.
Yeah.
They have a natural defense, but quick offense.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
That could be interesting, yeah.
But, yeah. Okay, so we talked about the Rockets. Go ahead, going on your Lakers.
Hey, man, honestly, I just want to say that I'm proud of the Lakers, obviously, for making it to the Western Conference Finals. Like I said on my social media, the last time I saw them there was, I was a freshman in high school. But that last game, they obviously show their dominance. That's the Lakers that I've been wanting to see. Yeah. Kuz played well. KCP. Danny Green surprisingly was there. He just wasn't running up and down the court. He had 11 points, made a couple threes. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come going forward. But I really want to highlight the fact that Frank Vogel was disrespectful in using THT minutes during the conference semifinals. Like, how are you a coach that just says, okay, I'm going to give minutes to this rookie and not care about what's at stake? And I respect him for that. You know what I mean? It's disrespectful to the Rockets, but I respect him for that because I love THT. I knew that he was capable of doing what he did, and so I'm just, I'm really proud of the Lakers and how they're peaking and how they're locked in. But it's just, I don't want to get too excited because they've let me down in this postseason before, you know what I mean? With, losing game 1 and blowing big leads like as we saw in game 4. So I believe that in order for them to have success with whoever they play, they need to be locked in from the jump. Like we discussed last podcast, they can't afford to lose a game 1 in the semi or in the finals of the conference. It's first of all, like, you can't afford that because it's the Western Conference Finals. There's no room for mistakes anymore. It's literally the last stage before the big stage. And so if they haven't put it together by now after 2 series, the Lakers could be in trouble. And even though they're dominant when they're locked in, they need that push. And I don't want them to have that push by losing the first game.
Yeah.
And so going into the Clippers and the Nuggets in terms of potentially who we could face, obviously the Nuggets are a better matchup for us because we can expose them. We beat them. You know what I mean? But like I said in the last podcast, the Lakers starters were having trouble with the Nuggets third stringers, so that could be a problem, And then obviously if the Clippers win, that's who everybody's been wanting to see. We've talked about their flaws, but for some reason the Lakers always get the best of other teams, so that could play a huge role. Lou Will can find himself, Trez can find himself. They could finally stop using Zubac, but I think they might need him because, we got 2 7-footers, three
Yeah.
7-footers.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. And you know what? Like, I'm not even trying to be like a stubborn Lakers fan. If we do get the Clippers, I say that series might end before 6 if they don't put it together. That
Oh,
could
yeah.
be done in 5.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And Kawhi needs to become 2019 Kawhi if they're going to extend that series. Unless Paul George and Lou will get it together, but it's just the Lakers are peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
Caruso, I love how he's playing,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully Danny Green can stop just doing cardio on the court and just actually defend,
Yeah.
and make the easy layup. But in terms of predictions, if we do face the Nuggets, I say that ends in 5. I say their luck has run out with the 3-1 comebacks. But Clippers, if they don't put it together, and we'll see that in the first game, that can end in 5 as well. But realistically speaking, I'll say that goes to 6. But the Lakers are peaking at the right time. It's just they need to stop messing around with that first game, man. That's it. That's all I gotta say. That first game is important, and so they need to stop having those feel up games. You know what I mean? Like, it's not characteristic for that type of team to always have those feel up games, because that feel up game can turn it to more than one. It could be 2 games, and so we could be in some trouble. But I'm definitely excited to see who they're matched up with. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a great series, like no matter what. But I think the big problem with the Nuggets is going to be that they haven't faced an athletic big, and the Lakers have 3.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different from going up against a guy like Zubac because
Yep.
JaVale, Anthony Davis, and Dwight Howard can get out there real quick.
Yep.
And with Jamal Murray, I think he's definitely going to be the guy that needs to carry the Nuggets.
Yeah.
If they were to move on.
Yeah.
Because there's no guards on the Lakers that can defend.
Nope. Not at all.
Without Avery Bradley.
Yep. Exactly.
So he's going to be the X factor in that one. Jokic, I think he's going to he'll get his 2010.
Yep.
But he's not going to have the same success that he does against the Clippers.
Yeah.
And if the Clippers move on, I think we've talked about it. They don't have enough pieces that are playing well right now to win more games, right? So I think the Lakers are going to make it to the finals.
Yeah.
And I don't see any team really making it difficult for them because both teams struggle in their own sense, but the Lakers can get the best of both teams easily. So the Lakers should make it.
Yep.
Just depends on their bench at this point.
Yeah. No.
Which has been playing a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? In the Western Conference Finals, I think we also might see some JR minutes increase.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, me too. But no, you're right. I don't see the teams that have checked the Lakers in the East are out. The Bucks, the Raptors, they're out. And although the Celtics have beat them once this regular season, and possibly could have beaten them twice if it wasn't for like a controversial call in that one game on the Lakers' home floor, they probably could have beat them twice. But I don't see like the Celtics checking them for sure. The Heat have a better chance, in my opinion, just because Spo knows Braun, and he's a good coach, and so they definitely have the advantage. But you're right. Like the 3 athletic bigs might be too much for Jokic. Actually, no, it will be too much for Jokic. But the Clippers match up with us better, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just a matter of like putting it all together. Right now, the Clippers are. You could even argue that they almost blew the Maverick series as well. You know what I mean? So Doc has a track record of of not performing well when it comes to elimination games, closing teams out. So that'll play in a role for sure. And the past 2 games have belonged to the Lakers in the regular season against the Clippers. And so we are missing Avery Bradley, and we do miss him dearly. And I know, like, even though he did it for his family, I know he's somewhere like kicking himself, like, man, I should have played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think we'll have enough for sure defensively, because when we're locked in defensively, man, we're a whole different animal, man. Like,
oh yeah,
like Braun, Caruso, not AC, AD, and Rondo. They're just it's that lineup. Although on offense, it's like kind of staggering. On defense, it's just you can't front that type of defense.
That's a really good defensive squad.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that's another player too. I'm gonna formally apologize for all those listening for my Rondo slander, because he has been playing well. It's just the regular season he was just, who is this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But playoff Rondo is the real deal, and I'm a believer. He showed it time and time again in the series, and like I mentioned earlier with the Hayward situation, how in the world was he incorporated in the conference semis and played perfectly?
And I think that's like showed like Doc really got him ready in terms of his like playoffs before that, because he was incredible in those last couple games.
Yeah.
So I really don't understand how they were able to incorporate him that quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
But they needed a point guard badly.
Yeah.
So he fit that role perfectly.
Yeah, especially with Braun going to the bench. We definitely needed Rondo running the offense, because let's be real, Caruso can't do it.
No.
You know what I mean? And Quinn Cook, as much as I love him, he's been a disappointment. He's not going to do it as well. But having Rondo definitely increases our chances even more. And I just can't wait, man. I have to wait till Friday, but Tuesday, I'm going to just be honest. If the Clippers lose, they should probably ban me from social media.
I think everyone is going to go in on the Clippers, because there's no way they should be losing.
Nope.
And I don't understand what's going on with them. It's a real big mystery at this point, because there's no way they should be losing at all. Yeah. And there's no way they should lose a lead, like a 3-1 lead.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. And you know what? For all the jokes that were, shined upon the Warriors 3-1, and I'm sure like a lot of Clipper fans were saying it too, they're on the brink of facing their own jokes right now.
Yeah.
And so
I can't wait.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Yeah. But we'll see. I can't wait. No basketball today. We have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
It's gonna be a good game tomorrow. I'm really excited for that game 7.
Yeah, same here. And we get 2 games tomorrow, like game 1. So we'll definitely see how that goes.
Yeah. So it should be a great day of basketball tomorrow. Today it's gonna be a slow day, but come Tuesday. Tuesday. It's gonna be fun to watch. I'm excited.
Same.
Yeah. But that's it for the 8th episode of Full Court Talk. Thank you for hopping on again. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to put our social media links down below. So check us out. Follow us. If you like NBA content, check out my website. There's so many articles you can read. But catch you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.